All right, so good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is, I'll name this segment later, GTG spits that grease, so on and so forth. You guys know the title. Or you know the slogan. If the title hasn't given me away yet, though, we're here to talk. We're going to talk about, I should say, lol cows hustling backwards, and one of the most monumental f-ups that you'll ever really catch. ReviewTechUSA drops his main channel of 1 million subs because of view botting and sub botting, by the way, to start making videos on his second channel doing the same thing. Now, here's the crazy part. If you guys know the lore, the reason why ReviewTech basically dropped the main channel, besides the view botting and the sub botting, was the fact that he didn't want to do videos anymore. He didn't want to do tech videos anymore. He didn't want to talk about tech or gaming anymore. He wanted to move on, and he looked at live streaming being the future. And because of the view botting and sub botting, we couldn't keep that million sub channel up with all of the passive income, even if he didn't post. All the passive income that could have generated. People have talked, I think ReviewTech says it only made him like 400 or 600 a month. Some people have actually speculated that it's probably closer to a couple of grand. But ReviewTech is a liar as well as a lol cow, so you can't trust anything he says. So make of that what you will. In any case, so we're right back to doing what we were doing that we allegedly hated and we wanted to remove ourselves from. This is like Tipster trying to go ass backwards with shit, which is funny because Tipster's quit Twitter and YouTube so many goddamn times and come back. It makes you really think. So what are my thoughts on this? Oh boy. Oh, so much fun. So much fun. I think, to be honest, it's no different than any other lol cow, to be honest with you. Rich has transitioned into being a lol cow quite well, to be honest with you. Truth be told, he's been a lol cow for a number of years, probably the better part of a decade. And the greatest trick that he ever pulled was convincing people that he wasn't. He was able to get away with this type of dumb ass backwards behavior for a very long time. Truth be told, he'll always go back to what is his roots. Just like how Darkside Phil can't give up gaming. Even though he's bad at it and he hates it. He hates it monumentally. Same reason why Wings of Redemption won't give up Rainbow Six and Call of Duty. Because he hates them. He hates them monumentally. He hates gaming altogether. Well, I think Wings actually likes playing Dark Souls or Dark Soul-esque games. But he knows that his real draw is just Call of Duty and Rainbow Six. And he had a name in both of those communities at one time or another, and he fucked it up. As for ReviewTech, though, what else does he have? He can't go into politics because he's already tried to claim himself to be a Democrat and a Republican, so that don't work. He can't be trusted, and don't be wrong, there's a lot of people in politics you can't trust. But Rich is stupid. Being stupid and not being able to be trusted is kind of it's a double negative. He really was never any good at reviewing tech or games anyway, but he has an opinion, good, bad, or otherwise, and people will gravitate to it. If that was the case, why didn't he just stick to the main channel? He could have done that and then done his grifter streaming and whatever, and that's that. The reason why I think that he has gone back to those things is he needs to drum more attention to the second channel. Well, not even the second channel now, to his new channel. Which isn't new. He needs to drum people over there. He needs to hit the 100,000 mark. He needs to get the 500,000 mark, and he needs to get the million sub mark. And he honestly believes he can do it again. Is he going to hit 1 million subs on that channel unless he's view botting or sub botting? No. Hell no. Probably won't even hit 500,000. I'll be surprised if he hits 100,000, given that his infamy has finally been out there in full Discord. On top of that, every person that he's beefed with for the better part of a year, he's lost to. You know what I'm saying? He lost to side scrollers. He lost to detractors, trolls, haters, and critics. He's losing the Sly now. He lost to the Thorns. He lost to Kino Casino. He's taken an L to pretty much everybody. He took an L to Tipster, and Tipster wasn't even out there looking to scalp him. So he has no wins against anybody. Now, most of you are going to be like, well, what about his win against DSP? Stop. I mean, you have your opinion if you want to say that's a win or not, but I have a video in the works on that. That wasn't a win. So actually, I got 2 videos in the works for that. It wasn't a win. It just kind of shows, in that one instance, I should say, it shows how far or how low the bar is starting to drop, where we're willing to give somebody a W just because it's against DSP. That's all I'm willing to say on that at the moment. And that's not a direct shot at anybody in particular, but giving a lolcow another win over another lolcow doesn't prove anything, nor does it mean anything. Especially since Rich didn't even do anything when he went up on that stream with DSP. He literally fell into a golden opportunity. Could have taken advantage of it, didn't, because he was worried about fucking bitching about some dumbass mic bullshit and whatever. And he wasted his time, and to be honest with you, he wasted everybody else's time. So there you go on that. ReviewTech is picking a bad time to do this. You know what I'm saying? You're on a channel with 65,000 subs, give or take, whatever. He's pulling between 15 and 20,000 views. Good on that. It's going to take a long time to get there, and no one's really going to ever take him seriously outside of the bubble that he's already in, because he ain't sat there and shitted on and pissed off most of those people. And any type of, what's the word I'm looking for? Any subject matter that he decides to attach himself to, or any movement he attaches himself to, all of the trash that he's dragging behind his ass is going to come with him. So that's a problem. ReviewTechUSA, or Rich's name doesn't carry any weight. Not to say that it ever really did, but it doesn't carry any weight anymore. People understand who and what he is now. Now, it's literally a fight for survival. And because he doesn't have the DSP detractor community behind him, because Duty doesn't have enough pull to get anybody to really help him, and because Rich has burned the bridges with everybody else, including Jay, and Jay really can't really support him at that level, because that's only going to fuck him over in the same way that you don't see Duty out on the front lines to try to help Rich now. He's all on his motherfucking own. There is no goodwill to draw upon anymore. There is no benefit of the doubt. It's just a few people that linger around him. That's it. That's it. And because Rich has other disadvantages, like his inability to take criticism, his inability to see things from both sides of the coin, etc., etc., he's a lost cause. He's a lost cause. And I think the truth of it really comes down to, or comes back to, he realized he fucked up with that main channel shit. He went ahead and he was botting views and subs because he didn't want Kino Casino, or anybody else for that matter, to see him drop below 1 million. And he was going to drop below 1 million. He was going to do it. And you want to know how I know that Rich did that? Because that's what Monday Matt did when he got exposed for the fucking flaggery bullshit that he was doing. Kill stream, you guys all remember that time and whatever. And he was fighting. Monday Matt was fighting and was throwing pretty good money to make sure he didn't drop below that 100,000 milestone. That same 100,000 milestone that he cried about when he first got there. It meant the world to him. And for him to lose it the way he was losing it just wasn't worthwhile. Rich did the exact same thing. I honestly think Rich never had any intention to keeping that main channel deleted. He was hoping that maybe he could figure out something, or he could work up something to get the dirt, to get the scent off of him, and maybe he could bring it back and just let it stay dormant. But once YouTube got clever to the shit on what he was doing, he had to let it go. Especially with that being said, most of you are probably like, well, why didn't he just go to Keemstar? Why didn't he ask Keemstar while he was working for Keemstar, while he was on his hands and knees over there with him? Why didn't he just ask him to look into it and help him out? Because if Keemstar has someone look at it in a similar way to what ended up happening to Duty, sorta, they're going to probably find something wrong, and there's going to be a repercussion behind that. Now, as far as we know, Duty doesn't view bot nor sub bot. No one's accusing him of it. I'm not accusing him of it, right? But they found something over there on Duty's account that they didn't like that caused him to get demonetized. Rich is not going to have the benefit of that. He couldn't afford to get demonetized, nor could he afford to have the channel just get swept up from under him. So he killed it himself. It really makes you think. Because if it was just a small infraction, ladies and gentlemen, that where he just gets demonetized for a couple months, okay. You get demonetized for a couple months, do what Duty did. Start a Streamlabs or Stream Elements and collect your donations through that for a while until you can get yourself back into position. He didn't do that. He didn't want no parts of that. Rich has a terrible history with Patreon, so he damn sure ain't gonna do that. So he just let a million sub channel go, which wasn't really a million subs, by the way. I gotta make sure I keep reiterating that. But he let a million sub channel go just for the sake of it? I don't know. Let all those videos go too. Wasn't even smart enough to gradually re-upload all of those videos onto the channel that he's on now. There's all these archive channels out here. There's like 4 of them at the very least. There's probably more than that. But there's 4 of them that I'm following. They got all of his stuff re-uploaded. Well, at least 2 of them do. One of them has them all in chronological order, which is by far great. The other one that I would say has all of his videos. They're kind of scrambled, but they damn sure have all of his streams, even the ones that he tried to delete for whatever lame ass reason. That's all there too. So all of that stuff is up there. And then the other 2 are just kind of trickling along, getting whatever they're getting. Why couldn't Rich just re-upload all of his old videos onto his channel that he's currently uploading videos on while he's streaming? Why not do that? Well, see, the reason why is because the channel that Rich is on now is compromised too. He ain't deleted a bunch of fucking streams. YouTube don't like that. YouTube don't like that at all. That, and if I had to guess, there's probably some infractions on that channel too that he don't want nobody to pay too close attention to. So he's sitting there already on the razor's edge about that bullshit. You know what I mean? And then Rich has accidentally exposed himself that one of his many sock accounts, and he has a bunch of them, he ain't been sitting there giving DSP money on. Now that's funny because Rich was known to give DSP money under his ReviewTechUSA account as well as the RTU stream account. But now there's a 3rd account that he's been giving DSP money on, and there may be a 4th. Time will tell on that. So Rich is just an absolute mess. He's scrambling. He is drawing at straws. This situation with Sly is not helping him whatsoever. The situation with Kino, he never worked out. That's not good. He never was able to get shit together, try to get shit back together with the Tractor Trolls, haters, and critics. He's fucked on all, and then he screwed himself over within the tech community and the gaming news community. He's literally a man without a country, to be honest. He's out there just floating around, and there's just a bunch of people waiting around for him to sink, and then once he does sink, there's going to be a bunch of fucking sharks and piranhas in the water waiting to get their piece.
For the Switch 2, that is. This is like definitely a Rich of Tomorrow moment where I was like, oh, gaming news is dead. Oh, look, it's not dead because the Switch 2 announcement and reveal was absolutely amazing. I have a lot to say about the Switch 2. I'm not going to go over the whole direct that they had because you could get that in a billion different places. I'm going to go over the things that I'm interested in and the things that I have concerns about with the Switch 2. I really only have one, but man, is it a big one. It's a large one, just like my ass. So Nintendo today had their Switch 2 reveal and announcement, and one of the things I was very concerned about, Jay and I have discussed this before, was what they were going to do with the hardware. There was many fears that I had with it. I was hoping in an ideal world, which I'll spoil that for you in a second, they would have 120 FPS, they would have full HD screen, that would be ideal. But again, we were dealing with Nintendo, and Nintendo lives in their own little world. Well, someone out of control over at Nintendo, tell a friend. Sound the alarm.
Humping Steven Crowder.
It's getting hairy, just like my ass. Hi everyone, I'm Rich. You might know me from this channel I used to have called ReviewTechUSA. I'm not really starting to review tech again. However, this is big news. This is big gaming news. This is stuff I'm actually interested in, so I want to talk about it. And this could be a big problem for Nintendo and the upcoming Nintendo Switch 2. Now, just a couple days ago, they had the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct reveal where they talked about its features, and it's going to be a hell of a console. I was actually really impressed with both the lineup and launch lineup of games. I was impressed with the hardware. They're going all out with the screen, Well, it's not OLED, but they have a bunch of cool features coming to the Nintendo Switch 2, 120 hertz refresh rate, VRR, which means you won't get screen tearing when you're in handheld mode on the console, HDR 10, which is going to make colors more vibrant. Hopefully it's a mini LED screen they have. It's still LCD, but they have a mini LED back panel so they could really take advantage of the HDR. But beyond that, though, it seems like it's going to be a very capable piece of hardware, and they're saying it's about 10 times more powerful than the original Nintendo Switch. So in terms of capability, it seems right on the money. But when it comes to how much it's going to cost, well, people were already complaining about the price. They have two different models of the Nintendo Switch that are launching, I think, still on June 5th. That might change too with things that just happened, but they're going to have two different models. They're going to have one where you just get the console for $450, and then they're going to have the other model, which is going to include a copy of Mario Kart World, and that's going to be $499, which that's interesting to talk about too, because it's actually cheaper to get the game bundled in there, because if you buy a Mario Kart World separately, it's going to be $80, $80 US. That's a lot of money for a game. A lot of money. Now, the bird, guess what? The Switch is underpowered. Look at my arms. Look at my muscles. I have power. Ooh, yeah. But we're hearing that the Switch 2 is underpowered. What do you think? But is it really? So information is coming out about the games and ports being released for the Nintendo Switch 2. Just the past couple days, there was the Nintendo Switch 2 hands-on event in New York. I'm not relevant enough to get an invite to the city, so I'm just here talking to a porcelain bird because I'm a weirdo. But information is coming out now about the games that are being released for the Switch 2, and one of them is a new old game, Cyberpunk 2077. And the information coming back about how it performs on the Switch 2, well, it isn't great. This information comes from Digital Foundry, and what they said is that Cyberpunk 2077 on the Switch 2, well, good luck having it hit 30 FPS in its current state. A lot of times it frequently drops down below to 25 FPS, you know, for that that cinematic feeling. Come on, man. You don't want high frame rates and high refresh rates. You want the cinematic experience like Ubisoft said back in the day. And we know how great of a game developer they are. And the resolution can drop down to 540p in handheld mode, and it's 1080p docked. Also, too, this comes from Jason Schreier over at Bloomberg, if that name rings a bell to you. He used to work at Kotaku as well, and here's some of the information he got about the Switch 2 and Cyberpunk 2077. Some other Switch 2 observations. The quote-unquote Welcome Tour app is surprisingly cool. One minigame reminded me of Mario Paint, and it is insane that Nintendo is charging for it. I agree. But that's a story for another day. Metroid looks and feels fantastic. And Cyberpunk 2077 runs at 40 FPS in performance mode while docked. Oof. Now, the reason why I wanted to talk about this, I saw this whole Cyberpunk situation with the Switch 2 being shared all over social media. And look, this isn't coming from a diehard Nintendo fanboy, but I think people are looking into this too much. I mean, let's keep it real. Even if you have a more powerful handheld, or hell, even a really decent graphics card, what are you turning on those graphics cards? Whether you have AMD or an NVIDIA GPU, you're turning on Fidelity FX, which is the AMD side. And if you have an NVIDIA graphics card, you're turning on deep learning super sampling, which the Nintendo Switch 2 has. Now, I almost forgot to bring this up. Thank God I thought of it now. Digital Foundry said they aren't seeing any signs of deep learning super sampling, which is NVIDIA's image reconstruction tech. They take a lower resolution image, like say 720p, for example, or even lower, and they reconstruct it to the native resolution of your monitor or whatever resolution you want, like 1080p, 1440p, or 4K. So they take the low res image, they use their AI reconstruction technology to, it's not just upscaling, but they bring it up to the resolution that you want. And a lot of times, if it's good enough, deep learning super sampling, I think, is the best tech out there from NVIDIA. You can't really tell the difference, usually. An ass-watering amount for games, bird.
Cucumbers.
Who cares? We're probably going into a recession. We need Mario Kart 8, right? You're going to pay $80 because, you know, you need games. Who needs food? Who needs to pay their electric bill? Who needs to pay their rent? Who needs to pay their mortgage? We need a Switch 2 and Mario Kart 8. That's our priority. Nintendo, you're out of your mind. So the Nintendo Switch 2, it's a console. It's coming soon, and you can get it in 2 different variations. One will just have the console itself for $450, maybe. Let's just, the tariffs, shh, don't talk about them. Don't talk about them. You just stress yourself out. And then they're going to have a Mario Kart World Bundle for $499. Again, maybe. Now, the interesting thing about Mario Kart World Tour is that if you want to buy it by itself, it's going to be $80. Again, this is in America money. $80 for one game. And that's not the only game that's going to be $80. If you want to get Kirby and the Forgotten Land, the Switch 2 edition plus Starcross World, $80. Super Mario Party Jamboree Switch 2 edition plus Jamboree TV, $80. Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 edition, $80. That's just $80 for games. We were already, people eyes were watering and their ass parts were puckering because this is a family show for $70. And Nintendo's like, nah, man, we're going to break the barrier again. We're going up to 80. We're going to $80. And what does Nintendo have to say about this? There's a lot of game there, so obviously it's worth it.
Jeez.
IGN actually interviewed Nintendo of America's Vice President of Product and Player Experience. I didn't even know that was a goddamn role. His name is Bill Trinan. And here's what he had to say. I would say it's less about strategy of pricing Mario Kart World. It's more just whenever we look at a given game, we just look at what is the experience and what's the content and what's the value. Mario Kart World, I think, especially as you see from Nintendo Direct, not to give you any hints or anything, but I did read your article this morning, and I think you had mentioned that you didn't find a lot to discover when roaming around. So I would say tune into our Mario Kart Direct to see maybe what you'll find out about that. But honestly, this is a game that is so big and so vast, and you will find so many little things in it to discover, and there's still some other secrets remaining that I think as people end up buying and playing the game, they're going to find this to be probably the richest Mario Kart experience they've ever had. And you'll have to be rich to afford it. Now, IGN also asked Trinan about games like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which will be $70. Say you're just buying a Switch 2, you didn't own a Switch, and you want to buy the Legend of Zelda games for the Switch, and you want to get the Switch 2 editions. Well, Breath of the Wild is going to be $70, and Tears of the Kingdom is going to be $80. IGN asked them, like, what's the deal? What's going on here with this? And this was Trinan's response. Well, again, what I would have to say is that we just look at each individual game, we look at the content and the value of the game, and then we say, what is the right price for this value of entertainment? What I would probably counter to some of that is really what you're looking at is for the Nintendo Switch 2 edition, that's the physical price for somebody that has not bought the base game. For somebody who has both Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, the upgrade packs for those are $9.99. And if you happen to be a Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack member, both the Zelda upgrade packs are inclusive within that membership, so there's no additional charge for those. But I think overall, our general approach is really just to focus on what's the content, what's the value, and what's an appropriate price based on that, which, here we go. It's like every developer and publisher out there now is going to be like, hey, what is the value of my game? $200? Oh yeah, we're going to just MSRP $200 because the game has a ton of content in it. What I'm fearful with this, and first off, could we talk about the fact that at best, we're probably going into a recession, and it's probably not just going to be in the United States. Let's just keep it real. And just a recession, I hate to say it, maybe wishful thinking. Not going into politics, I'll leave it at that.
Live from a hotel room. You see the ring light in my eyes. This is kind of impromptu. I didn't expect to make a video while I was away, but of course something major happened, and I'm definitely talking about this. So this is regards to the Switch pricing, or Switch 2 pricing. It's high. A lot of people are afraid with the tariffs in the States that it's going to go even higher. And Nintendo's been very weird about the pricing of it. They don't really want to address it. At a media roundtable they had on Wednesday, people asked about the price, and they're like, "Oh, we're just here for the fun stuff. Let's not talk about that." It's like, okay, everyone wants you to talk about the pricing. There's been live events that Nintendo had on their YouTube channel, and everyone there was saying, bring down the price, whether it be the hardware, whether it be the games. People are not happy with what Nintendo chose for the pricing of the Switch 2. Now look, like I've said before, it has a lot of features that I didn't expect Nintendo to go for, like the high refresh rate screen. But nonetheless, people are not used to Nintendo products being so expensive, even though you could still get the Switch OLED for $350, which boggles my mind. But anyway, Nintendo of America president Doug Bowser had a very interesting response. Now, if you remember, it feels like another lifetime ago, during E3 2013, Don Matrick, who is the CEO of Xbox at the time, he was asked by Jeff Keighley. The big issue with the Xbox One was the always online thing that they were trying to push, which in 2013 was pretty premature. And his answer was absolutely amazing.
It's a great line for games.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think people are going to love it, and then they're going to understand what we're trying to create and how it links games and entertainment, the functionality of the box, some of the advantages that you get of having a box that is designed to use an online state. So that, to me, is a future-proof choice, and I think people could have arguably gone the other way if we didn't do it, and fortunately we have a product for people who aren't able to get some form of connectivity. It's called Xbox 360.
Right. So stick with 360. That's your message if you don't, like it?
If you have zero access to the internet, that is an offline device. I mean, seriously, when I read the blogs and thought about who's really the most impacted, there was a person who said, hey, I'm on a nuclear sub, and I don't even know what it means to be on a nuclear sub, but I've got to imagine that it's not easy to get an internet connection.
Don't have internet, or don't have continuous access to the internet? Get our previous generation hardware. What a great way to sell. I mean, I'm kind of giving you a summary of what he said there, but he went into a whole thing. Oh, there was some guy who messaged us or left a message and said he's in the military and he's on a nuclear sub and he doesn't have internet. So we told, get an Xbox 360. Really, many people argue that interview with Jeff Keighley and Don Matrick, that Xbox hasn't recovered from that interview to this day. That's how awful it was. Well, Doug Bowser, the president of Nintendo of America, decided that, you know what? I'm going to take a play out of Don Matrick's playbook, and I'm going to basically say the same thing about the Switch 2 in regards to price. This is what he had to say. Nintendo, I guess they're feeling arrogant after how wildly successful the original Switch was. We recognize there are some people that may not be able to afford the Switch 2's price point. That's why we wanted to make the other Switch platforms available, so people still have an opportunity to come into our gaming universe, be a part of these characters in these worlds, and see value, if you will, in whatever rung of the platform they come in. Now, Bowser also went on to talk about how he thinks that the Switch 2 could be just as successful as the original Switch. Here's what he had to say about that.
I gotta tell you, ladies and gentlemen, when you fail over there with LolCow, under the LolCow umbrella, universe, network, whatever the fuck you want to call it, when you fail over there, that says something. That says quite a bit. If you failed over there in under a month. Remember, Rich was fired from over there. And he was there for just maybe let me be generous for once and say he was there for about a month and got himself fired, got himself up and outed. And truth be told, he wasn't missed. To be honest with you, Lolcow Madhouse or whatever the fuck it's called is going on just fine. Joffrey has figured out a way to monetize the hate against him. And Jay, at the time that I'm recording this, I don't know if dude is sick or if he has some like family issues, but he's not fired. He's like on a leave of absence as far as I know. So there's a situation with that. I don't know how Rich fucked all that up. I don't have a clue. Now, I have a video that I recorded a while ago. I'm not sure if it's actually even gone out yet, where I theorize that Keem and Lolcow were literally setting Rich up. That whole time he was over there for about a month, it was all basically a giant gag to fuck Rich over. Because Rich and Keem have been enemies for a long ass time. Keem knows Rich well enough to know that he'll never conform. He'll never fully be under Keem's thumb financially or otherwise. So go ahead and just screw him on the way out the door. And I honestly think that's what happened. I'm not sure if that video's out yet. If not, I'll try to make sure that they put that video out before this one. But in any case, it's funny, the thing that Rich was so desperate to get away from, he hadn't run his ass right back onto. On a platform that's 10 times smaller than what he had by hook or by crook. And now he has to try to start over to prove, right, that he can do it all the right way, in air quotes. That people do legitimately value his opinion amongst tech and gaming and move on from there while he's doing his little DSP coloring book sessions and whatever. Not to say there's anything wrong with it, but that's what we're reduced to, ladies and gentlemen, calling it content. Makes you think. It really makes you think. But what do you think? How do you feel? If you feel anything about anything, you can let me know in the comment section below. I gotta tell you, the 2025 is definitely going to be the year, or has been, as I predicted, the year of content creation. But I gotta tell you, man, these Lolcows are down bad, to be honest. And for a lot of them, it's been a long time coming. And for me, my thought process is, at the end of the day, they're gonna have no choice but to team up. They're gonna have no choice but to herd themselves together if they just want to not even keep themselves afloat, if they can just to keep themselves out there, to be honest. Because at the current moment, everybody knows Wings is going back to Lolcow Live, but he hasn't gone back to Lolcow Live yet. And at the same time, Keem is going through his transition of Lolcowdom pretty well, is pissed off that everybody's accusing him of all these different things that he's doing. Now, not convincingly, coincidentally, in air quotes, Keem's dog died. Now, RIP to Keem's dog. I gotta tell you, I'm sorry for your loss and whatnot. You know, I'm sorry for your loss. But it is quite the coincidence that dog passes away now that you got all this heat of the internet on you, though. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying that, hey, I'm sorry for the loss of his pet, of his dog. You know what I'm saying? As a dog lover myself, you know what I'm saying? I feel you on that. So, you have my condolences. But it is pretty coincidental that it was a coincidence. It's convenient that it's happening right, that dog ends up dying or going missing or whatever the case is with that right about now. Right around this huge controversy that Keem thought was going to go away a week or so ago, and it didn't. I don't know. And that's just drumming up more and more attention on Twitter, more and more attention on Reddit. The Discord allegedly has revolted a few times, and then the dog's dead. Or missing, or whatever. I'm just saying. That's all. That's all. I'm an asshole. I'm supposed to question shit like that. So I'm just throwing it out there. It's convenient. It's convenient. But in any case, RIP to Keem's loss and whatnot. At least no one told his dog to jump off a bridge like what Keem did to Etika. So at least that's the thing. But anyway, tell me what you think if you guys think anything. Like I said, condolences to Keem. And I'll catch you guys for the next one of these, whenever that may be, hopefully sooner than later. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll name this segment later, GTG Spits That Grease. Brought to us by Tim Snortons. Stay salty. Take care of yourselves, my people. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.